Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
In light of the remarks made by Ken Livingstone, is there an issue surrounding anti-Semitism within the Labour Party?
The remarks made by... Yeah, shouted yes. Well, let's hear what our panel says. The remarks were that Hitler was supporting Zionism before he went mad. He said on the radio this morning, and late this afternoon he was suspended from the Labour Party. Alex Salmond.
I think there's an issue about Ken Livingstone. I'm in a position. I don't think that Naz Shah, she was the Labour MP whose suspension started this. I don't actually think she should have been suspended. The reason, if you remember, she had made an offensive retweet some 2 or 3 years ago, which was a shameful thing to do, and it was the wrong thing to do, and it was certainly anti-Semitic. But then she made an apology yesterday in the House of Commons, which was a fulsome apology, a graceful apology. And she's a young MP, and, you know, unless there's some sort of thing I don't know about, some sort of track record of this behaviour, which there doesn't seem to be, I don't understand why she was suspended. However, I certainly understand why Ken Livingstone was suspended. And I should declare an interest here. I'm a board member of the Holocaust Foundation. That's the Holocaust Memorial Foundation, which is working to get a suitable memorial to commemorate the Holocaust, and so that future generations can understand why it was the most devastating event of the 20th century. Ken Livingstone's been in politics a long time, and he would know a great deal better than to use the Holocaust or Hitler as a debating point, or no more than people should use it as a joke. It's right above and beyond that. It's something which should be... Tomorrow, I think, is the anniversary of Dachau, the liberation of Dachau. And for Ken Livingstone, with all of his experience, to make that point was absolutely shameful. I think he was rightfully suspended. However, I think we should be a bit more generous to Naz Shah, the young MP, who apologised. I think Ken Livingstone was rightfully suspended. Jeremy Corbyn did the right thing. And if he needs to take further action against other people in the Labour Party, I hope he's got the guts to do so.
Andy Burnham, is there an issue about anti-Semitism in the Labour Party?
If I thought for 1 second, David, that I was a member of an anti-Semitic party, I would cut up my membership card right here, right now, and send it back to them. That's what I would do. But I don't believe that that is the case. But let me say what I think is the case. Firstly, that these allegations, when they're surfacing, are not being dealt with properly and quickly enough. They need to be dealt with much more speedily in the future. The second thing I would say is, it is clear that some people in the party have made anti-Semitic comments. And like Alex, I find Ken Livingstone's comments ill-advised, offensive, deeply distasteful. The question is, and it's true for Naz Shah as well, the question is, were those comments made carelessly, inadvertently, or was there real intent behind the comments? And that is why they have to be investigated, and people have to have a chance to put their reasons. So you can't rush to judgment. You have to allow that. It's why suspension is right now. But let me just be absolutely clear with you about this. If anti-Semitism is found, then expulsion is what should follow. No ifs or buts.
So, Joe Kirby, of course, Jeremy Corbyn says there is no crisis in the party, and people who claim there is are nervous of the strength of the Labour Party at local level. Do you see it like that?
Well, it seems to me that this is a crisis brought upon Jeremy Corbyn in large part by his attitude towards the party, towards its own, towards prejudices that are existing within the party. I'm quite sure Andy doesn't hold them, but they are there within a party that can select and choose Naz Shah as a suitable candidate. Did no one look into her record? This was, you know, this wasn't just one retweet, as far as I understand it. There were other comments that she had been passing around, and we all know the dangers of social media. You see something stupid that catches your eye and you pass it on. But she had somewhat of a track record. It wasn't just one random thing. And, Andy says we have to ascertain whether there was an intent. Well, you know, someone who wants to be in public life, who visualises themselves having a responsible role, does it make any... You know, she chose to participate in a dialogue which involved likening sending the Jews to America to transportation. I mean, it was clearly, you know, most of us, would anybody in this room consider that as a good thing to pass on, even in a moment of kind of frivolity? You just don't do it, do you?
But the question was whether there is an issue around this in the Labour Party, or whether it's just one case, two cases.
I think there is, because we saw that yesterday. It wasn't until David Cameron, I think, had pointed out that surely it was time for the whip to be withdrawn, that the whip was finally withdrawn. I mean, this was all out in the open, and Jeremy Corbyn didn't decide to do anything until it had come up in Prime Minister's questions. I mean, this is no kind of party management, is it? And then to see Ken Livingstone, who we know was brought back into the fold by Jeremy Corbyn as his special advisor, and we know that Livingstone already has a terrible track record of making anti-Semitic remarks, as well as plain offensive remarks.
I agree with you about Ken Livingstone and the experience he has, but I don't think it's fair to say that about Naz Shah. I mean, I've got no knowledge. I mean, I'm not in the same party.
But is it the kind of thing that...
I've got no knowledge that she has done what you said she's done. She's somebody who made a mistake several years ago. She admitted it, she apologised, a fulsome apology, and I think we should give her a bit of slack, and certainly not attack her when she's not here to defend us. And the other thing I'd say,
no, that's
David
enough for a
Cameron,
moment,
who
Alex,
talks about a swarm of migrants, is the last person to complain about racism.
You, sir.
Thank you. Can I just clarify? Andy, did you just say careless racism was in some way excusable? I'm sorry, racism is never excusable, whether it's careless or otherwise. It is simply not on.
No, I didn't say that. If that's what you understood, then no, that's not what I meant at all. I'm saying that people sometimes can inadvertently say something and it can be read a certain way, because it's often the case when people are commenting on the Israel-Palestine situation. I think I dislike the language that's used at times against Israel, and sometimes it can go over that line and then appear anti-Semitic. It doesn't mean that the person who is saying it... Wait, just let me make the point. It doesn't mean that they are an anti-Semite. It just means that their comments appeared anti-Semitic. So I think you do have to investigate it.
Or just appear?
Just let me make the point. You have to investigate it, and if you find that they meant it, then they have to go. And that is the bottom line.
OK, Greg Clark, I'll come to you in just a minute. Let's just hear from one or two other members of our audience. You in the blue shirt there.
OK, so at the minute we're talking about, is there anti-Semitism in the Labour Party? What issues is the party actively tackling to not allow members to have if they're going to voice that, especially if they are members of public office?
So what's your assertion, that Labour is too easy on who it allows in?
Yeah, what measures is Labour going to take to actively discourage people from joining the party and then representing the party in
Don't answer
Parliament?
straight away. I'll come back to you, Andy, on that. And you, sir, over there.
How forgiving Andy and Alex would be if it was a member of UKIP that had said these things. Yeah.
Right. Oh, yeah, we'll come to you. Greg Clark.
I do think this is a serious moment. What we know about anti-Semitism over the years is that it's a virus. It is never suppressed and eradicated completely. It emerges from time to time in different countries and at different moments in different guises. As soon as it appears, it has to be crushed very decisively, because it will happen again and again. And so I think this is an important moment for Labour. I'm sad that the Labour Party, whose traditions have always been to combat racism, should be going through this. And I think it's right that Jeremy Corbyn should be required to act absolutely decisively, because if you don't, and you see it in other countries around the world, if you let it fester, it will grow, and it will be even worse in the future if it's not gripped now.
I will come to you to end that. Paul Marshall.
This is an issue which is very important to me personally, because last year I discovered that my wife's family lost quite a few members in the Holocaust, so it's not a trivial matter for me. And I think that the views that were expressed by Ken Livingstone are part of a wider world view, and this is what I find worrying, which is shared by Livingstone, McDonnell and Corbyn. And that view is essentially rooted in anti-Americanism and support for victims as they see them of all kinds, whether that be Hamas, Hezbollah, or the IRA. And part of that worldview is also an opposition to Israel. they're all linked together. And that's why, and it finds expression in this, what they call anti-Zionism. And if you look on the web, you get this use of the word Zio, which is increasingly becoming used as a form of anti-Semitism, as a different way of saying Jew. So it's quite virulent, as Greg says, and it's very much within the London claque of Labour leadership, and it is therefore very dangerous for the Labour Party and for the country, and it has to be rooted out. And to link to another subject, which will no doubt come up tonight, Ken Livingstone said last week that if we voted for Brexit, he would think about emigrating, and that might be a solution to everything.
I'm not defending in particular what these politicians have said, but I think 3 times over the past year I've seen in political contexts they've used anti-Semitism used as a political tool in the NUS presidency, in the Young NEC rep, and now. Anti-Semitism is not the same as disagreeing with what Israel do. It's not the same thing.
All right, wait a minute. So, I want to move on, but I want Andy Burnham to answer the question that came from over there, which was, is Labour doing enough to stop people joining? And you know the attacks on Labour from the Board of Deputy British Jews on Jeremy Corbyn. There have been various people who've had to resign for other anti-Jewish remarks. And can you answer his question? What's being done to stop this?
I will. I mean, because the gentleman there said we're being too forgiving. Well, I'm not, actually. I mean, I think, unlike Alex, it was right to suspend now. So, yes, as Paul, root it out. Find it and root it out. Absolutely no question about it. What's the party doing? Well, somebody said it. I mean, we are the party that for decades has promoted equality, has fought discrimination. You know, Jeremy Corbyn's done all that, all his political life, if you look at his record. So the party has to get better. I don't think it has been good enough. I said that at the very beginning. It's not been good enough.
Why is he being so slow?
Well, I don't know. It should be quicker. It should be quicker. And I'd like to see quicker and more decisive action taken. I think he has taken action, but it could be quicker.
Okay.
But I just want to be absolutely to be clear about this. You know, I would resign tomorrow if I thought I was in a party that was promoting anti-Semitism. I think the point was made very well, though. There's a world of difference, isn't there, between criticising the actions of the Israeli government and indeed questioning whether Israel should exist. And it's when people go over that line, they're veering into the realm of anti-Semitism. And it's at that point, I think, that you have to take a very different approach. But you have to be careful before you label somebody an anti-Semite or a racist.
Right, we've got half a dozen hands up, but So forgive me, those who've got their hands up, but I do want to try and get through a number of questions tonight, if we can.